Start streaming. Let's see here. All right. Good morning. Here we are. Great. We're here. I'm going to start recording. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for the Daily Medicine transmission. It is it is January 11th, 2021, and I have moved this live stream that's usually on my Facebook page over to YouTube right now, and because I'm not able to post for another 24 hours on any of my platforms, even my business page. So we moved the Daily Medicine over to YouTube for now, and last night's stream was really good. It was long, but we did the astrology for the new moon and all of the astrology leading up to the 20th, which is actually going to be the first quarter square and is also a really important date on the political scene as well. So we are going to go into this transmission today. Hope everyone is doing well. Oh boy, I haven't even burned my Palo Santo yet. All right, 1 second. All right. Sorry, guys. Man, this whole learning curve and getting into a new system and everything else that's happening can really throw us off our center. And it's a good reminder how important it is to be grounded and anchored into to something that is substantial and something that will continue to hold fast while things all around us change and in a lot of ways are going to get very chaotic. All right, now this is really going to set the tone. So I hope everybody is doing well. Welcome to Monday. Drop something in the chat if you're here. It'd be great to interact with everybody. I've missed everyone. I'm back. I'm happy to be back on the live. I'm happy to be on Earth right now with all of you. These are exciting, really exciting times. So let's see what's going on here. All right. So let me know too if the stream is getting buggy or if I'm not able to stream properly. It says that my resolution is not good, but it seems like it's just fine. So, yeah, so welcome to Monday. It's January 11th, 2021. We have the moon now in Capricorn, okay? So there was a lot of emotional charge over the last 2 days, and we talked a lot about this in the astrology stream last night with Sagittarius being so much about the optimism and the truth and looking at the big picture and the power of our collective belief systems and understanding, right? The alchemy of understanding. So as just like with everything else, it is an oscillation. It is a contraction and release, and the astrology is no different. And now that the moon has moved from Sagittarius, which is fire, into Capricorn, which is now earth, we are settling very much into a sense of responsibility, taking things very seriously on an emotional level, getting very honed in on the goals ahead of us, and group cohesion. Capricorn is about the group. It is about what we are collectively building together. And of course, Saturn does represent Capricorn. So this is the law of nature. This is the boundary of time and space that we are not able to really transcend, and there is restriction here, of course, with Capricorn. Restriction, responsibility. There is a matrix that we have to, there are rules that we have to follow, natural law that is part of this universe that we live in. But it also represents the lattice structure of this geometric pattern that is unfolding. And so it does require an ability to really get serious about what we are doing, especially with the moon. So we're going to be really feeling it now. It's going to start getting more grounded emotionally. We're going to start, like I said, being more serious, being more goal-oriented, feeling a sense of responsibility, maybe a sense of restriction, but more so a sense of this is the pattern that is unfolding, and this is how I'm going to either be resonant with it or dissonant with it. This concept of an orchestra or a wind ensemble, a group, a band of any kind that you want to, wrap your head around, a choir, for instance. This is a really good way to conceptualize what's happening right now, because it is made up of individuals, but the Aquarian energy is the energy that it moves through the collective. It is the electricity that moves through and the power that moves through the collective consciousness. And in an orchestra or in a group ensemble that is performing, that is made up of individuals who have their own individual talents and skill sets, and they bring everything to the table. But what we are seeing is the collective unfoldment, and the energy that comes off of a performance like that is very palpable, but it is about the group. Each individual kind of leaves their individuality, not at the door necessarily, but it is not the primary function of the Aquarian energy. So there's a very strong conjunction today with Mercury and Jupiter in Aquarius, and they're going to sextile Chiron today. So again, we talked about this last night in the live, and this is the maestro, Mercury and Jupiter coming together. This is the conductor of the orchestra. They're coming together, the Magi coming together with the leader of our collective values, the maestro, the conductor of this orchestra coming together. And it's a ritual. It's a ritual that represents the cohesion of the group. So this can go one of two ways, as we talked about last night. It can go in the way of the highest version of Aquarius, which is individuals at their highest potential participating to create something that is in fact bigger than themselves, which is the performance of the orchestra. Or the dark side of Aquarius, which is the hive mind, which is the stripping away of individuality, which is the succumbing to the hive mind, the completely detached collective sense without any individual sovereignty involved as well. This is the dark side of Aquarius. So again, these two aspects with Mercury, the Magi, Jupiter, the defender and leader of our collective values coming together in this conjunction, they're going to sextile Chiron today. So there is either potential to really assess and heal these wounds, right? We each are individuals, and there's a very strong emotional desire for individuation where Chiron is at in Aries right now. And it's important that each individual in the ensemble is playing at their fullest potential, and is aware of where their flaws are, is aware where they're going to make mistakes, and has practiced and is aware and is realistic about it, and still bringing their full potential to the table. And if that is the case, then this ritual, the conduction and the maestro coming together, it will allow for that healing potential to unfold. Now, if we are not working with Chiron very actively, and we are, in fact, allowing this strong urge of individuation to be feeding this victim narrative and be the empowered victim, and be very focused on the victim identity and our wounds, then this, again, this is really the maestro and the conduction of this and of this orchestra is not going to be based on individuals coming together in their fullness. It's going to strip away all of that, and in fact is going to feed this narrative. So you're going to see, again, we're in this bifurcation, and so you're going to see both of these aspects play out depending on where people are situated. So that's a little bit, I don't want to go into the astrology too much because we did so much of that yesterday. What I will say is that it's important with the moon in Capricorn today that we allow ourselves to get grounded and realize the responsibility that we have emotionally to what's going on, not only to ourselves, but to the people around us, the people we value in our lives, the relationships that are valuable to us, and realize that we all are going somewhere together, and we need to actually be together if we are going to go together, right? We have to participate in this process collectively in order to make this journey on to the next phase of humanity. And we have to do it together. We can't necessarily be so hyper focused on the individuation process that we forget that this is about a collective effort. Okay. Now, let's get into the transmission here, because it is, it is a lot of fire, and we are seeing now that the destruction and the sudden breakout of realizations is very much upon us now. And there is a lot of, on the one hand, we have to, it seems counterintuitive, and this is where we need to find how to balance this out, because what it is that we, on the one hand, we do have to disengage from the constant struggle with each other when people aren't agreeing, and we don't want to dehumanize people. And in fact, we need to really take some time away from all of that and take some solitude in order to really start digging. What we know is a very strong dig into the truth of who we are. We're aware of this. It is at the top of our awareness. And in fact, we really do need to disengage with aspects that are just not going to, we have to step away from the conflict, because it's not, people are they're determined to have their way, and that is not helping the situation at all. And so for us to be able to dig into the truth of who we are, which is really at the focus today, then we have to step away, find some solitude, disengage from that struggle and that conflict, because nothing we're doing seems to really be doing anything. Now, the other side of this, at the same time, which is why it seems kind of counterintuitive, is that we also need to be very open-hearted and be listening and show compassion to the people in our lives that matter and the people that we interact with. And even if we don't have those people in our direct contact that we feel the need to practice compassion with, we can still hold it in our hearts. We can still hold it, that resonance for the collective as a whole, as opposed to necessarily having these conversations in our personal life. So it seems the solitude is more about disengaging from the conflict, and the compassion is more about holding that in your heart and being willing to listen and be open and aware of the fact that everybody's doing their best, and you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. And people are making decisions and coming to conclusions based on the data and information that they have chosen to interact with. And so we're all in our own position, and it's really important that we are taking the time and keeping ourselves in a state of compassion and forgiveness and universal love in this situation, okay? So let's get right into the transmission. No need to go on and on like we did last night. That was a lot of information. I really encourage you to check it out. It's under the live. We did it live last night here, and it goes in the astrology from last night all the way up to the 20th. And there is just so much every single day. And so, of course, I'll do my best to be here every single morning to do the intuitive messages. So as we come into the moment, we have this Princess of Cups, okay? So when we have the court cards, they represent actual people, either us or people in our life, as opposed to being, they're certainly archetypal, but they also represent more of the personification of these archetypes. So the princess is the Venus. She's innocent. And she, in this case, the Princess of Cups, she's the Venus of the water. So there is a certain amount of tenderness and lovingness and kindness here. Of course, Venus is all of those things. She's tender and she's sensitive. She's the Empress, right? When she is in this position here, you can see that she's making this is very strange because everything is kind of mirrored right now. So, she's making the offering here. You know, she's got this turtle shell and this clam shell that she's making the offering. There's a swan here, the fish, and she's got all of her flowing robes here, and it's very innocent, and it's very tender, and kind. And there is an island floating in the sea. This is what, Venus is the earth element. She represents Taurus. So there is kind of this burgeoning, island, but she is surrounded by the ocean of consciousness. And so there is also a little bit of fantasy here, not quite attached fully to reality. But intuition is strong here. Exploring the inner worlds is strong here. And this island can be very fertile, right? Because it is surrounded by this entire ocean. And so there is a sense here coming into the moment where people have been kind of innocently in dreamland right now. And now not all of us have been here. Many of us are here as a result of intuition and the fertile island that is the princess. And she is kind and tender, all right? And we've been exploring our inner worlds, but it's been kind of, there's a protection element here to have this island, out in the middle of the ocean, kind of just surrounded by water. There's a little bit of fantasy here, not really attached to reality. And so I think that we're going to really be caught off guard as a whole coming into today and the next couple of days, because there's been just kind of this really sweet and tender and very innocent, dreamy, fantasy-like energy coming into the moment. Now, it's not to say that this has been completely childish, or sometimes selfish. It's just not, there's not a lot to attach to. And with Neptune and Pisces, this has become really, really strong. So as we come into the moment, here we are now, Valor. This is the Seven of Wands. This is the sevens are always that fall from paradise. They are the moment where we need to make a major adjustment. And in fact, usually what happens is some sort of divine intervention. So Valor, you can see here that the wand in the front is kind of battered and it's got the notches and it looks like it's been through a fight. This is definitely about a fight. And fire is a fighter, so there's going to be struggle to survive, right? But remember the wands, this is the power of transformation. This is spiritual will with the fire. And we can really face up to the forces that are stronger than us with this Seven of Wands. It's Mars in Leo, right? And so we also have, there's courage, there's a fighting spirit, okay? The situation may seem hopeless, and especially with the princess coming into the moment with us, it does seem that it's a little bit detached from reality and much more in the dream world. And then all of a sudden, we're just like, bam, in this moment of courage, fighting spirit, overcoming opposition, and it's initiation phase. This is a rebirth kind of moment here. Now, it's important to realize that we have to take a lot that we've learned in order to fight. The Princess of Cups is not fighting anything, right? She's off on her island, far, far away, being in dreamland here. And then all of a sudden, we're just like, bam, right here in the middle of this fight, okay? This is the present moment. So when it came out in this horizontal position facing the outcome, okay? So not only is this the present moment that we are dealing with, this fight and the need to struggle to survive and, overcoming opposition, it's also facing towards what's to come as opposed to being completely upright in the moment, okay? And as we'll see, it is facing towards the outcome that is going to be incredibly obvious. So, and because I can't post on Facebook right now, I can't really post the spread, any photos of the spread either. So we're just gonna have to go with what we have here. So what is at the top of our awareness? What do we know? So Uriel in the Sphinx, this is number 21. This is about digging and inner discovery. Uriel is the fire of God. So here we go, more fire energy, lots of fire energy in this intuitive read, and it's about using that fire as transformative, okay? We have to dig into ourselves. This is not digging into the truth necessarily of what's happening outside of us. This is about digging into the truth of who we are as individuals. So we can call on Uriel as the fire of God to assist in this transformation process. This is the work that leads to initiation. This is what is at the top of our awareness. This is what we are consciously aware of. This is what we really need to be paying attention to right now, is getting underneath the surface to the truth of who we are. And that requires that we chip away at old beliefs. It requires that we chip away at, the history of who we are. And it's a hard substance. It's the earth itself. And so it takes actual energy and time in order to get there. And this is why we need assistance and why we can call on assistance. And it is mysterious. Look at the Sphinx, right? This is where the Akashic records are buried. And so getting to your own personal Akash is how you understand the drive for individuation, especially with Chiron, because then you understand where you're coming from. You understand that original wounding and what it may mean to you. And when you can understand those things, then you know how to transmute it. But right now, the focus is just getting into the truth of who we are and how we have participated in creating the reality that is right now and that is soon to be falling, okay? Now, what we don't see, very much rooted right now, is, here, let me get my notes. We have the Two of Forces. So again, more fire. So the forces are the creative element as well. So the willow tree is about natural forces, right? This tree is rooted very strongly. It is flexible and bends with the wind, has all of the nourishment that it needs from the sun and the stream by it, and is planted firmly in the earth. And this is usually about being firm and strong and stable in our own spiritual will and transformative properties. Now, this is reversed. So this is signaling to me, at least, that, the winds of change are blowing, okay? And it's really important that we're willing to be flexible and that we bend with it. Otherwise, we stand to be uprooted, and that's not going to help us right now. Stay flexible, bend, and stay centered and adaptable and grounded in wisdom. So at the root of things, it's people, I think, on the whole, are still not quite rooted in who they are, and they are still much more susceptible to being blown around, and the winds are going to get stronger, and the destructive potential is going to get stronger, and the fight is right at our doorstep, and in fact, it's going to be part of the destructive element, as we move forward. And this is saying to me that we really need to focus on being grounded but flexible. Otherwise, we're going to be pulled up by the roots, and then we can't, that is where we are destroyed at that point. When a tree is uprooted, it's over for them, right? That is, the root system is what stabilizes all of us. And this is where we get our nutrients. This is how we get water, all of the things that sustenance and to process them. That's what a tree needs. And so when a tree is uprooted, it's over for them. And this is saying that at the root of things, we really need to make sure that we are not so firm that we break or we become uprooted, and be flexible and be aware of the fact that the wind is blowing. Now, where is this headed? Well, this is not too much of a stretch here. This is the tower, right? Here's Mars in the tower. Everybody knows this card. Everybody hates this card. This is the sudden breakout of realization, destructive old values falling away very dramatically and destructively, sudden realization of truth. Okay, this is where things are headed. And the valor that is at the heart of the moment right now, this Mars in Leo, the fighting spirit and the courage, is really focus much more on this energy right now. And the transformative power of fire is so strong that we can actually use it to get into the depths and the truth of ourselves. But we need to, again, this is where Uranus is, to let go of the old obsolete structures so that we can see what is to come in the natural cycle of things. And the tower, the Tower of Babylon, it became too tall and too narrow to support itself and came tumbling down. And, you can see here with the eye is that it's really about this understanding and this awareness of the truth. Okay, it's the destruction is coming though. Okay, the sudden breakout and realization, and what this sets the stage for. So, what kind of guidance can be offered for today as we embark on these amazing times? Well, I talked about this earlier. So, when it comes to being able to dig in, again, we can't get embroiled in the conflict with other people, right? They are going to have their way. They're determined to have their way. And it's best for us to disengage from that and come back to it later. So again, here's the winged messenger. The winged messenger, the Two of Roses. You can see there's this little tea party and one of the cups is knocked over. And there's a hawk here, but then there's a dove here at the top of it, and there's a silhouette of an angel behind it. And so the winged messenger is, showing us that there's something to be learned from this disruption. When it's reversed like this, again, like I said, this is much more about how the conflict has grown. And that is really clear. The conflict has definitely grown. The divisiveness has grown. The bifurcation has become so contentious that, our fears are drowning out our own spirit's voice. And it's, like I said, we have to step away, disengage from the conflict, and realize that the dove is still here as part of our awareness. It's just that we are not going to force any issue with anybody at this moment. And the best way to get to know the truth of ourselves is not to bypass it. See, this is the Chiron wound again. When we bypass our own healing and our own discovery by getting caught up in the victim-savior narrative. We need to let go of that right now. I know that people are really struggling and they want people to be aware of what's happening, or regardless of your position, it's important that you take a step back and that you disengage from that, because the real work is getting to the truth of who you are. Because when the tower falls, you want to be ready to make the transformation as a result of that. So here we have the snow leopard. It says, take some time out of your usual life and spend it in solitude. This is a great time to disengage from social media, and we may get that forced upon us anyway. This is how we learn about ourselves. This is how we discover the deeper truth of who we are, not through engaging with the conflict of other people, but taking some time away, going into solitude. This is why meditation is important. This is why prayer is important. This is why journaling is important. This is why going out into nature. But honestly, just quieting the mind and disengaging from the conflict is the best way to do the transformative work that we absolutely need to be paying attention to right now. When it comes to that willow tree, that is, that we need to pay attention to, that the root of this here is that we need to be flexible enough so that we don't break, but we also need to acknowledge that we are in fact stable and strong and rooted in some very deep wisdom. So the gorilla, take the time to listen compassionately to those you love, especially your family members. Not everybody is going to be as rooted as some of us are. And part of being flexible and moving with the winds is not engaging with the conflict, but being willing to be flexible. And then that will allow you and us to be compassionate, to listen to people, to realize that we're all doing our best and we're coming from our own perspective, and we make decisions based on that perspective. And even if you think people are wrong, even if you think that they're misinformed, it's important that we are staying focused on what's important right now. And it's about listening and being compassionate. And here we go with the Queen of Roses. I mean, again, I don't know how much more information that we need here to show that it's about love, compassion, tenderness. And with the Princess of Cups coming into the moment, of course, we've already been there, but she's been disengaged, right? She's out on her island floating around and not really part of reality. And so it does make this whole process a little bit more jarring when it becomes I need to have the courage and the fighting spirit to really handle what's going on. But again, it's about being tender and kind and compassionate, and the Queen of Roses represents all of those things. And so that will allow us to be flexible and to be also at the same time rooted in a very deep wisdom. I do feel that people are so rigid in their perspectives, regardless of what they are right now, that they're going to be uprooted if they cannot be flexible enough to take it and to listen, to be compassionate, to have their hearts open and not be so hyper focused on their position, because that's not what we need right now. We need to be focusing on that transformative process that is absolutely coming, and using that as a means to get to the truth of who we are, because that's the only way that we're all going to evolve, as each of us take the individual pathway to our own healing. And so just to be easy on yourself and to be easy on other people, right? We're all going to be shocked, and we're all going to have to deal with this process regardless of where we find ourselves. So we were trying to get there together. So let's get there together and realize that we all have to build the ark together, whatever that means for you. We can't get anything done like that if we're fighting with each other, and if we are constantly, engaging with each other negatively and being rude, being abusive, you know what I mean? Really dehumanizing other people. Believe me, we're all going here together. And so we are learning whatever it is we need to learn. And it's not very fair, and it's not very compassionate if we are consistently attacking other people right now. So and we don't know what's going to happen. We're all going to be shocked. So just keep that in mind. Even if you think you know what's happening, we just don't. And so it's important that we are being compassionate towards ourselves as well, and realize all of this is about digging into the truth of who we are. Because once we do that and we realize that we're spiritual beings here in a physical vessel and in a physical experience, then we can actually start to evolve. Okay, so let's see, anybody here in the chat? No, but that's okay. I think that does the job for today. So if you are interested in a reading, sign up for the mailing list. That's a big one on catalystenergies.net. Everything is in the description box. I should be able to start posting on Facebook again tomorrow. We'll see if that's even an option after today. Who knows? I'm also going to be putting this recording up on BitChute, so I'm going to start moving over to alternative platforms. So please feel free to subscribe, hit the like button. That does get this information out. I feel like it's important that people are engaging with this information and, taking a step back and getting some perspective right now, because it's important that we all have our heads on straight. Oh my God, because if they're not, then you are just, the tower moment is so destructive that if you don't see it for what it is, it could just literally destroy you. So, and if you do see it for what it is, then your job is here to be, to do damage control and to be a support network for people who are not aware that there is a tower moment even coming. So, take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for being here. If you're catching this on the replay, that's so awesome. And I really appreciate each and every one of you. And I will see you on the next video. Bye.